All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're here with another episode of the Pit Stop Podcast, episode 35. With me, as always, is Chris Garofalo. Today, we have a very, very special guest. I'm really fired up about this. We've got Kurt Elster, CEO, co-founder of the Ethercycle, also the host of the Unofficial Shopify podcast with over 1 million, that's right, 1 million downloads. Gonna want to check this out. Tune in, stay tuned in the whole time. Here we go. Chris, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Happy to have our guest Kurt on the show today. I already know he's going to bring a wealth of knowledge for our audience.
Totally. Kurt, how's it going, buddy?
Going good. What's new with you guys?
We're just rocking and rolling, and another episode here with you, obviously, and we're really excited to have you on the show.
We know you're busy. You were just saying you were on another podcast earlier or something. We appreciate your time. We know you're a busy man.
Yeah, I'm recording 2 today. One for my show, one for you guys. Where are you guys recording from?
From Boston. Yes.
Cool.
Good old Beantown. Good old Beantown. I'm sure. Obviously you're out of Chicago. So you've got the White Sox, Red Sox stuff going on there. Interleague rivalry. No, they're the same division. No, right? No,
I don't know.
American
I'm
League.
more of a basketball.
I don't know shit about sports. I have no idea.
Obviously, none of us do, right? But anyway, getting down to more important things. Kurt, really high level. I'll let you dig into it. You're the CEO, co-founder of Ethercycle, and like we mentioned before, the host of the Unofficial Shopify podcast. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the e-com industry. Has it been like a lifelong passion, something you stumbled into? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So 100% it has been, looking back on it, it's something that I was practically groomed to do. When I was a kid, my dad lost his job, and I don't know why. The guy, he never worked again. And at that point, even though he was never an entrepreneur, he really pushed entrepreneurship. He said, if you work for yourself, you can never get fired. And so that became, having that beaten into me as a kid, it seemed like having a job was being employed would be just a total betrayal of all of that. So rapidly, I viewed myself as proudly unemployable. So I went through, in college, I was selling on eBay. I was making band shirts in my dorm room, and I got my first cease and desist from Warner Brothers. And I was so green. I knew so little. I was like, why can't I, I don't understand copyright. It wasn't malicious. I literally had no idea. But I made my first semester, I made $1,000 on eBay profit, which when you're a college kid, you're like, oh my God, this is rich.
Yeah.
And when I got that C&D, I'm like, all right, time to move on from this. I'm like, oh, well, they've got good deals on software licenses in the college bookstore, and other college bookstores have different software license deals. So I just started buying software from different college bookstores, again, not knowing how copyright works, and listing this gray market software on eBay. And now I'm making serious money. Mm-hmm. And then Microsoft is like, yeah, that's gray market software. You can't sell that, buddy. So that was... I had to research that. I was like, oh, okay. But for the post-college, I went to, it was right during the recession. Things were rough. And so I went and started working for aftermarket auto parts dropshipper, local TH Motorsports. And that was started by a young guy at college, Eddie Lickstein, who I learned a lot from. And TH stood for True Honda, because the business was originally following his passion, which was built Civics and stuff. And he didn't, like me in college, did not have a good grasp on trademarks. So Honda, then he gets the C&D from Honda, so it became TH Motorsports. So I was a good company there. But I loved cars. I was a car guy. I got some cool cars now, and
what do you got?
Started working. I got a Jaguar FS it's stick. Man, it's so hard to find a good stick car these days.
Very cool.
Choices are really limited.
Yep.
I got the family car is a F-150 FX4 Super Crew with 33-inch off-road tires. That's just like what my wife drives around. It's great. Car. Yeah. We got 2 strollers in the bed and a car seat and some boosters. Like, we got 3 kids. This is the vehicle.
That's the family.
It's got the appearance package, a tint.
That is the family.
So badass.
That's the family truckster. Pun intended.
The family truckster.
That is the family truckster.
We lovingly call it the family truckster. And I got a basket case of a race car. We got we participated in Lemons. So we've got a 2003 VW Jetta stick that has been painted to look like Thomas the Tank. It's really, really atrocious.
It's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was working at TH Motorsports. We're doing drop shipping. It was a lot of fun. I was learning a ton. But I knew, like, I didn't feel right. I'm like, I got to go work for myself. And so I said, not knowing what I didn't know, I said, man, let's build our own e-commerce platform. And of course, a year into that, discovered it was way harder than I thought. And to keep the lights on, we started hiring, or we started taking on client work. We started doing local brochure sites for businesses, then WordPress sites. And pretty quickly, I was able to work my way up in terms of clientele. And we started working with creative agencies. We did stuff for Verizon, the NFL, Hilton Hotels. And at the same time, we had a friend who owned a bike shop who goes, hey, I hate my e-commerce platform. You guys know web stuff. Help us out. And I had worked as a bike mechanic in this bike shop. I said, I heard about this thing called Shopify. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Like, let's try that. Again, not knowing what I don't know. Our first Shopify project is let's build, design, and develop our own custom theme. To this day, it's almost closing in on 10 years later. That website and that theme are still up at amlingcycle.com, which is crazy. So from there, I'm like, all right, e-commerce is clearly the way to go. And we did like one last painful project. So, all right, e-commerce only. I made landing pages for a ton of different e-commerce platforms. And I was just, whenever we sold one, I'm like, I'll figure it out. And so we did. And we quickly discovered, okay, it's not a fluke. Shopify is our favorite here. So about 5 years ago, I said, all right, we're doing Shopify exclusively from now on. And then a little while after that, started a podcast. And first month, 148 downloads. This month, 50,000 downloads. So it really is just like showing up and making the content and working in public. And it has grown dramatically and tremendously, and I'm very grateful.
No, it's awesome.
There you go. That's the long version.
No, and I love it. No, but I love the journey, right? And I think it's really important for people to understand the journey, because it's there's a lot of people out there that are really impatient, and not everything is just a straight line, right? And it comes from a lot of hard work, and it started, when you were a kid. Right.
Yep.
That mindset, that mentality. And I think that speaks volumes to you and where, everything that you've learned along the way, and the trials and the tribulations and everything. So, I mean, it's great to hear that. And so people understand that, hey, like, it's not, I just threw up a website and I'm going to be making millions of dollars overnight. Right. You're not an overnight success. Not everyone's going to be an overnight success, right? So,
they're incredibly rare.
They're incredibly rare, and so getting back to Shopify and your exclusive focus on Shopify, let's talk about that. So you've obviously you've worked with a lot of different platforms, and there you've got Shopify, you've got Magento, BigCommerce, Evolution, all of these different e-com platforms that are out there. Why Shopify? Why do you love it so much? Why do you recommend it? Why do you why?
So I came from a WordPress background. So you had to do your you had to host your own stuff, and now you're responsible for security and updates. And as soon as you host the platform yourself, like it's the case with Magento 1, PrestaShop, a lot of those like open source platforms, you are, whether you like it or not, you are now forcibly in the IT business. So I immediately, you only have to get your WordPress site hacked so many times, despite your best efforts, to start to appreciate these cloud solutions where, like, all right, someone else is exclusively responsible for server uptime and security and maintenance and upgrades and all that stuff. So number one, it's a cloud platform, and it was the earliest on shopping e-commerce cloud platform. So I like that a lot. Number two, most of these platforms have horrific, incomplete, out-of-date documentation, and Shopify has always had excellent documentation, which made life great. And then third, if you notice, like, the first one's about the platform. The second one is not about, my second favorite thing is not about the platform itself. It's about the support. And the third is the community around it. So very early on, they had a gentleman named Dan Evelay who started a partner program. So this guy's job was just to get people involved with the platform. And I got an email from him years ago. He said, hey, we saw you built a custom theme. That's cool. You should join our experts program. And getting that email, getting that recognition, like, okay, cool, we should check this out. Well, they're doing that at scale. They're doing that to a ton of people. So rapidly, while no one else was investing in community beyond, like, we have a forum we kind of sort of moderate. They were actively recruiting partners. This was 5, 6 years ago. And that had a huge importance on building the ecosystem around it. So it's like, any feature, service, integration you need, there is an app or documented solution for it. And I think that's the real power of Shopify. Like, there's a Shopify app store, just like your phone's app store. And it is very much a case of, like, whatever you can think of, there's an app for that. Like, we have a couple apps, but, like, let's say you want to do a crowdfunding campaign. Oh, there's like 3 apps for that, and I own one of them. So there's always a solution out there. It's a very extensible platform, but it's also very easy to use because you don't have all of this stuff, like all this crust baked into it.
It's a good point that, that crust baked into it, all this other stuff that, you don't necessarily need. You add on what you need, and you use what you need to suit your needs, right? Because there's,
it's very a la carte.
Yeah, and I mean, we work with hundreds of dealerships across the country, and not every dealership is the same. And I mean, we have this conversation, this joke around, the office. Sometimes it's like, well, I went and checked out their parts department. Well, was it Game of Thrones kind of dungeon parts department, or was it, the Jetsons and, Super Space Age? And they're like, oh, no, it was in the bowels of, the dealership here. It was pretty rough. And then there's others where it's like, wow, like, I ate the chicken parm off the floor here. This is, this place is awesome. And so point being is that, every dealership has different needs, and some just want to make an incremental $10,000 a month, and others want to make $1 million a month. And the flexibility of Shopify to allow people to scale is really intriguing.
Right, and not have to be an IT professional in order to figure out how to do things. And because, like you said, especially in the parts department, some of these guys, they might not know what Google Analytics is, or their way around a more confusing dashboard. So having that usability is really important too.
Yeah. So Kurt, your experience in the parts the parts and accessories industry with TH Autosports, right? And I know we're kind of going back here a little bit from that point, and we didn't ask you how long ago that was. What have you seen has been like a big change in the industry from the time that you were in it at TH Autosports and today?
Oh, well, it's tremendously, it's significantly more competitive now. And the issue with a platform like Google Shopping, like Google Product Listing Ads, is it has become a race to the bottom. Because if I'm sophisticated and I know my part number and I can just drop that into Google, boom, it's going to just show me, hey, here's the cheapest one. And then I can just click through and buy it. It's like you have to have an approach to that. And the incredibly sophisticated people out there like have built systems where it's going to, troll daily these Google Shopping feeds and try and pull down prices and then try to update its own and do price matching. Like there is some brutally competitive things going on out there. Like, and a lot of these guys are drop shippers and fly by night. So on the customer side, there's more anxiety than ever. So you really like more so than than standard e-commerce, which on its own is a scary proposition. It is essentially a stranger in a parking lot going, hey, I got the t-shirts, give me your credit card number. Like, holy crap, who wants to do that? You don't know who you're getting your credit card number to. And auto parts buyers are often younger. They are savvy online shoppers because to get parts, you need to purchase. Like really, your best option is going to be buying online to get exactly what you want. And they're going to have bad experiences. So that's what you're up against. You more than ever have to invest in trust building and have a really polished professional experience as part of that. And at the same time, like look for ways to cut through the signal, that signal to noise ratio.
I like that signal to noise ratio.
Yeah, no, you've said it. I'm sorry, Chris. You said like a lot of really good things there, Chris. And or I'm sorry, Kurt. The first being the race to the bottom, right? And you're 100% right. What piece of advice can you get? And then the other thing that I want to touch upon is that trust building piece of it too. But what piece of advice can you give, our listeners out there to get around, or strategies to get around the race to the bottom?
Sure. So there's two things going on there. Or two approaches I would take: short term and long term. Short term is we want to, before you're already driving traffic to your site or you're about to be, you need to provide the absolute best experience and absolutely work on busting people's objections. So, they're going to want to know, hey, is this in stock or not? At TH Motorsports, one of the clever things that the owner did was the tagline was your in-stock superstore. We didn't actually know of anything like that's just a tagline. You really had no idea if something was in stock or not. But that inspired people, that got them interested because you have no idea what you're dealing with. So more than ever, you want to over communicate in your product descriptions. Like, let's get all of the info that you have on that, display it to the customer, let them sort through it. Because you don't know what they need. State like, hey, this is, and on a lot of platforms, you could come up with clever ways to do this. But state like if you order today, when does your order ship by? If I order today, when does my order arrive by? And you don't have to have it exact, but you can give ranges so they have an idea. Like certainly, what a typical transit time is and shipping time, or at least you should. So over communicate, put that info in there. State like, yes, this is for real in stock. There's a lot of systems and platforms now that can display inventory. So if you have that capability, please do. Or say like, hey, ask, if you want to double check stock levels, you can always, contact us via live chat or call. And making yourself available will help with that trust. Like have an 800 number. Again, like one of the things I learned early on from TH Motorsports was just having a big toll-free number right in the header was a huge trust indicator. And people I talked to people on the phone who'd say like, yeah, it's my third order. And I just liked that I knew I could call you if I had to. Oh, geez, that's great. So it just adds such professionalism, and there's no reason not. A toll-free number is silly now because there's no such thing as long distance minutes anymore. No. But it's a trust indicator. So a system like Grasshopper or whatever can let you get a toll-free number pretty easily. So it's short term is just on the website, over communicate to set expectations, right? And make yourself very available. So it needs to be very customer service focused. But if you have a big catalog, and a lot of people in the space do, work on how easy, how long does it take to get to a product? How easy can you make it? And the right answer is going to be either like a vehicle fitment system, and that's where you can really compete with Amazon because they still struggle with this. Or you could borrow from Amazon, giant search bar should be in your header on desktop and mobile so that people could just start typing the thing they're looking for. Because these people are sophisticated. They may know part numbers. They may know like a Brandon part. So make sure your search works with that. Invest in a good search with autocomplete. That's our short-term strategy. Long-term, I would focus on content marketing. Like if you're in this space, I'm assuming it's because you're passionate about it or working in it or are knowledgeable. So you want people to buy parts and maintenance items from you, make videos showing in your shop how you guys do that, right? Like,
can you say that again? Can you say that again?
Sure. A great content marketing strategy would be make content videos out of what you're already doing now. So if it's like, all right, you're doing a brake pad change. I had to change the front brake pads on my F-150. I didn't think twice about that, but it's only because in the past I've been able to watch YouTube videos on it. So why aren't you doing the same thing? Like, hey, here's a video on how to do this. Here are the part numbers you need. Here are links to the parts. Boom. That goes in the YouTube description. So that's going to be inbound, bring people into the site. Then take that content, drop it into the description of every page that has one of those parts in it.
Right.
And make a landing page for it. All right. Now you've got that content on your site. So people are going to see, video content. Man, whether or not people play the video, it will still increase conversions because it speaks to that professionalism and trust again. And now we've got like this SEO effort. So if you could just make one video about changing your brake pads, suddenly you have dramatically improved the customer experience and SEO and inbound marketing and your content marketing. And so look for those things. Or like, especially if you're in a shop or you're working just in that automotive space, there's always like customers who drop by with crazy shit. They're like, hey, check out my Pantera. We're going to do burnouts in the parking lot. Why are you not making videos of that and uploading it somewhere, right? Yeah. Like, I know that stuff's happening at these shops.
Right.
Share it online. Yep. The one thing that this generation needs more than ever, like we have been marketed to more than any other humans on the planet. They crave authenticity. And I'm like, I know it's true. You know it's true. But I was just talking to the marketing director from Hoonigan, and that was his. They do the Gymkhana videos that have Gymkhana 2 is 50 million views. I just looked it up. They said just be authentic. Like this is all just born out of passion. Just be real and authentic. That is all these people care about. That's like the kids. That's what they want. It's just give me something real.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think a lot of companies are naive because they feel like they're giving away too much information. If I'm showing them how to change their brakes, I agree with you. I think it's silly too, but it's one of those things that you can't be naive because, if you're not going to show them how to do what somebody else is and they're going to Google it, they're going to YouTube it and they're going to figure it out. So why not you be the resource and you be the one answering their questions and providing this, transparency and whatnot. And I think it's common sense to me, but there's still a lot of resistance out there. I mean, look at, HubSpot. HubSpot gives away so much information for free. It's all inbound. You provide them with these resources and this knowledge, and then over time, you're building trust. And when they are thinking about purchasing, XYZ, they're going to think of you because you're going to be top of mind because you're always providing these resources. And like you mentioned, just show how to change a brake pad or something. This is already things that they're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's already part of their system. So why not throw it in? Just press play on your iPhone, and it doesn't even have to be a super nice camera, and document it and upload it. And so it's not even like you're creating. You don't have to go out of your workflow. This is part of their workflow, for the most part. And it's just simply setting it up, pressing play.
Yeah. And don't hire a guy to do it. Get the guy who does it to do it, right? If there's a mechanic and he's doing this brake job, all right, let's just document that. And, I think a lot of people will think that's fun and enjoy it. I think your on-screen talent should just be the people who are in the business.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100%. Getting back to the authenticity part of it, they know it. You can. the target consumer the consumer is going to see, like, if this guy's like an actor, they're going to be able to read through the lines, right? And just like, this guy doesn't know where this is and how to fix this, and he's, you know, fumbling over things. Like they know, they get it, they understand. You know, and we tell these guys every day, like, get out there. There's always time. There's always downtime, and they complain to us about, you know, oh, I've got this big, you know, high payroll and da 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 da, and you know, and I know that there's people sitting around, you know, taking an hour and a half lunch, and there's always time. You know, you said it yourself, Kurt. Just create one video a day, a 30-second video. Like, you're not asking much. I mean, that's crazy that you can't create one 30-second video a day, you know, on a unique individual product or accessory to add to that product page. Right.
And this is, you know, this video can live on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and, you know, talking about this video content, just social commerce in general is growing every day. And I know Instagram just came out with being able to purchase things natively on the site. And so now influencers can tag products that they're representing, or if they're working with a certain company and they're wearing, say it's a fashion company wearing a, you know, a t-shirt from XYZ company, they can tag that in their post, and now these consumers can purchase that. So I mean, that's not only should our clients be creating content and video content, but that's where the industry is going. Social commerce is only going to get bigger and bigger, and it only makes sense that you start producing this content now, because like I said, I mean, it's only going to be influencing sales more and more as time goes on.
Yeah, Kurt, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
With Instagram announcing that on Tuesday, as well as you know, Facebook announced, I believe, yesterday as well, with WhatsApp and their new e-commerce platform. And I don't know if you saw that or not, but you know, what are your thoughts on that, and how brands should be, you know, projecting themselves and communicating to their customers via those social platforms, and trying to sell off those social platforms?
In the case of Instagram, what's interesting about it is I think Instagram just became the new mall, right? It's a place where you go, you don't have a purpose, but there is a sense of discovery. There's like a joy of discovery, of discovering new products. And Instagram was weird in the past in that there were no links. You could not, like, if you posted, you could not link to something, which is very strange. You just say, oh, the link is in my profile, and then have to go click on the bio, so you have like a single link, which is weird.
Right,
or
there's a lot of friction.
10,000 followers, you could do swipe up in stories. Or like you then, because really what they wanted you to do was then use remarketing ads and use Facebook Ads Manager to run ads in Instagram, which is not quite the same. It's a little strange. So I think this push simplifies things for the consumer. It will make, I mean, Instagram is its own animal. It's just viciously competitive, more so, I think, than any other platform. And now 100% it's going to get worse, but it will be, I think the advantage is for the consumer who could, like, it's just an easier to use experience now.
And that's where they are. That's where they're spending a lot of their time. So why push them off a site where, you know, just keep everything native, keep everything there? I mean, it seems like a pretty logical next step to create shoppable posts right on Instagram there, to keep them there. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how these shoppable posts affect online sales for various industries, even, you know, parts industry. You know, should our clients be thinking about Instagram and creating shoppable posts for popular parts and accessories? I mean, does that make sense? And, you know, where is that going to be next year? I mean, is it, you know, let's start figuring this out now and testing the waters now, because, you know, before you know it, we're going to be behind the 8 ball. Should we, you know, should clients be, you know, testing this out now? Because I mean, there's a lot of shift in dollars right now. I know Google just came out with earnings, and they went down a little bit in revenue. So, with the emergence of these marketplaces like Amazon and eBay and now shoppable Instagram posts, consumer or companies are going to start shifting money around. And so it makes you question, like, all right, well, where do I shift this money? Should I be putting more money into Instagram and growing these networks, or Facebook or Twitter, and creating these shoppable posts and advertising there? These are all questions we should be asking ourselves.
It depends where your audience is.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to, I would say, ideally pick a single channel, and try and double down there, where look where you already have an advantage, look where you already have traction, and work on that. Don't, I would not just sit down and go, oh, well, TikTok's the hot new thing that kids are on, so now we got to go figure out TikTok. You're just going to waste a lot of time, taking that approach. I think in the case of Instagram, Facebook ads, Instagram ads are more expensive than ever. Facebook just posted record-setting quarterly profits, but at the same time, relative to all other advertising, it's still incredibly cheap,
right?
And you can set the budget to whatever the heck you want. So I think the name of the game, if we're trying to increase trust, the functional way we want to do that is by increasing touch points. So anywhere we can remarket is probably a good idea. So if they visit our site, they visit a product, they don't purchase it, I want, for at least a week, I want those people to see ads for your brand, for exactly that product, around the web. And that's going to be Google Shopping dynamic remarketing ads could do that. Facebook's remarketing ads could do that. And then Instagram is an ad placement on there. And then that will get you, as many placements as you want. You could get into Facebook Messenger like that. You can get into stories. Mm-hmm. It will get you everywhere. So you don't even necessarily have to have the audience on those platforms to be there and be omnipresent.
Right.
That makes sense. And you've talked about this quite a few times, and this is something that we echo to our partners is, having multiple touch points of communication, right? And we say always be accessible. And I mean, you'd be surprised, maybe you wouldn't, the amount of partners that we work with that are like, no, we don't want a phone number on the website.
Or live chat.
And or live chat.
Or an artificial intelligence bot that has pre-canned messages.
And pre-canned, questions to the, all of the questions and answers to
the most frequently asked questions.
And I tell these guys, we tell these guys hey, look.
Well, what's their pushback? Why are they saying they don't want that?
Time.
What's going on there?
We don't have enough time. And my response, my response to that is, does your dealership on the sales side not have a phone number? Do they not have chat? Do they not make enough time? It's silly. It's just it's silly,
yeah.
and it's a mindset. It's totally it's a mindset.
What's the difference between somebody walking into your showroom to buy a car and letting them walk out with, not having a salesperson talk to them versus somebody go to your website and leave a message in live chat? I mean, to me, it's the same thing. If somebody leaves a message in live chat and you don't respond to them, it's the same thing as somebody walking into your showroom. I mean, what's the difference? Okay, one's digital and one you can physically see them, but there's some type of disconnect there where it's like, all right, well, of course I wouldn't let somebody walk out of the showroom without talking to them. Well, what's the difference? At the end of the day, what is the difference? And there's this disconnect that is really frustrating, that for some reason it's okay to let these people leave. And with so much competition, I mean, just the fact that they landed on your website, that's a win right there. I mean, it's hard with the, I keep saying it, with the marketplaces, Amazons and eBays and, all this competition, it's hard enough just to get a consumer to your website because there's so many touch points. They have 15 browsers open at once and they're price checking. And I mean, it's essentially a world of perfect information. And Kurt, this is going back to why you were saying it's so important to just brand yourself and be transparent, because how do you compete in such a competitive landscape? And for you or for a client to not take advantage of when a customer is asking them, potentially saying, here, I want to give you my business, I just have a question. For you not to capitalize on that is just, honestly, it's shame on you. And somebody else is going to take that order or answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If someone, and for every person who asks a question in live chat, figure 10 other people had the exact same question and just didn't ask. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe early on you've got to do a ton of customer support, but those are all customer service opportunities where, it's like, okay, 3 people asked the same question. All right, how can we answer that on the website? Or we had returns for the same reason. Okay, how can we bust that objection? How can we fix that on the website? So like you can rapidly work through those. If you have a customer service mindset, you can work through those things and then apply them as like strategies and tactics to your own website to then reduce the number of inquiries.
That's a great question. You adding it to your FAQ portion on your website, or just creating blog content around those frequently asked questions, because again, a lot of clients will be, what should we be writing about in these blog posts? Well, what are people asking you? What are people, when they're calling, what are they asking? When they're leaving messages in live chat, what are they asking? That's what you should be writing about. Because if, to your point, Kurt, if one person is writing about this, it's pretty likely more people have that same question. So how can we now take that information and curate it into something that, maybe it's a blog post, or again, going into the frequently asked questions. It's a great way to just survey what your consumers are looking for.
Yeah. And if the goal is just, hey, let's reduce inquiries, well, then just provide a better experience is really what's going to do it. Not hiding is going to make things worse. But you can do the FAQ page is the easy way out. But what you could also do is then that assumes people visit the FAQ page. So you probably want like a Q&A on individual product pages. Some review apps will support stuff like that. Or maybe these are common questions that you can add to the description. And then on the contact page, put like your top 3 questions you get as like FAQ questions before the contact form, and say, hey, got a question, we're happy to help. Here's the top 3 Q&A. And then the 4th one is, well, what if I didn't see my question answered here? And then you say, oh, well, check the FAQ. And if it's not there, then, contact us below. And that's really going to, just something as simple as that is going to really reduce the total number of inquiries.
That's awesome. And all of this is really a part of that conversion rate optimization that you're consistently stressing, right? And like every one of these pieces is part of that. And, and Chris brought up a good point too with all the competition that's out there, and it continues to be more competitive, each day, each month, each year, right? We have to do all of these little things to increase that conversion rate and take the time. Don't be afraid to answer the phone. Don't be afraid to send abandoned cart emails, or if somebody filled out the cart, right, and put all of their information in there, phone number, email, everything in there, and then busted, off the site, didn't convert. Well, what are you doing? You have all their information. Reach out to them. Send them an email.
Given how time consuming and expensive it is to acquire a customer, to get them onto the site, you should 100% be focused on retention. And one of the big retention tactics is customer service, customer experience.
Right. And it's largely mobile now. Kurt, how has conversion rate optimization evolved over the years now that e-commerce is largely mobile first? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's getting bigger every day, mobile, and how has that evolved, this CRO, being that e-commerce is largely mobile first now?
Well, a couple things. What's interesting is many sites, it is not uncommon, will be at 90% mobile traffic, but the conversion rate, the experience on mobile, especially checkout, still sucks. It really has not been sorted out well. So it is typical for, even with 90% of the traffic on mobile, the conversion rate on mobile in a very good optimized store is still going to be about 50% of desktop. So they are both incredibly important. But most of your revenue is going to happen on desktop, but your research and purchase decisions are going to happen on mobile. So you have to have a great experience on both. And then the other interesting thing about it is it has put an outsized importance on page speed, right? Because we've got connections on mobile phones is often much slower, so we need to have fast sites sometimes as a test, I will go in our office building. There's a spot by the elevator that I know has just terrible reception. It kicks me off LTE. I'll go load a site on there and see what happens. Like, how long until I can navigate it? What breaks? What works? So that's an interesting test to take. And it's putting an importance on readability and legibility. Like, a phone screen is just not that big. The web is 90% typography. Your website needs to be really easy to read. So just like going back and studying the basics of typographic design has helped me immensely. But yeah, like just sometimes just bumping up the font size is enough to increase conversion.
That was going to actually lead me to another question. What design mistakes do you see merchants making?
Well, there's always this goofball idea that no one reads on the web, which just isn't true. They skim and then they read. So like we often see people just taking out, like, you don't want those customer service questions. Well, you got to answer them up front. So we see people with just like short, useless product descriptions. That drives me crazy. There's this idea that like subtle is sophisticated, and somehow that became, well, really tiny fonts are sophisticated. So like you go on the luxury brand sites and they're like 14 point, 13 point font and just like really thin weight.
Very minimalist.
Forget that. Just make the damn thing readable. And conversions will go up. Number one, this one drives me nuts, is like your main menu navigation should just be about shopping. And a lot of sites you go on, like, the first link is home, and then the second link is shop, and it's just a monstrous drop down menu. And then like all the other links are useless things. Like, in the main, that shouldn't be in the main menu. They should be in the footer. But if I said that and immediately you thought about your own site with just everything buried in one shop drop down menu, that shop drop down menu, that should be the entire menu. Just pull all that stuff out of the drop down, make that the main menu. The faster you can get someone to a product, that's the difference between them walking past the storefront and walking into it. Those people are going to be twice as likely to buy from you.
Right. Reducing those points, get them to A to B as quickly as possible. Less friction points, less points to drop off. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just, it fascinates me how a lot of these guys like to make things so complex, and the consumers are just are so much more savvy now, and there's information just a couple clicks away for anything and everything, right? So and people, we live in this world of instant gratification. We want a pizza, it's just a click away. And we want a date, it's just a
swipe away.
A swipe away. I wouldn't know. I'm a happily married man, and
I wouldn't know either. My girlfriend's watching.
But I wasn't. They didn't have those things when I was in that world, that scene, and probably a good thing. But we're in this world of instant gratification. We want what we want, and we want it now. And we've got to get to it, and we have to get to the point as quickly as possible. Just doing all of these little things that you've talked about today has been awesome. And it is really going to take things to the next level. So that kind of like leads me to one of our last questions here, Kurt, is what is one piece of advice that you can give any fixed operations director or any parts manager that is looking to sell online or is currently selling online? What's that one piece of advice or a couple pieces of advice that you can give to them?
I would say, rather than make your life difficult with a giant catalog, try and trim it down. Like, for most stores, only 20% of the catalog is going to be 80% of the revenue.
Right.
So instead of making yourself crazy maintaining this huge catalog, really like trim it down to you've got data. You know what the best selling items are. You know what the top vehicle fitments are. Just really limit it, focus it down, and then like specialize in just that. So you're known for like, oh, those are the like whatever chassis guys. That will help dramatically in making your life easier, making the entire process easier. Like everything will be simpler for you as a result. And two, within a day of working on your own website, you will, like already you've spent more time on it than anyone else on the planet. You will spend more time on it than anyone else on the planet. So you can't see the forest through the trees. So look for other people, strangers, where you can shoulder surf and say, hey, could you find this product, try and buy it for your car, and just take notes of where they go wrong. It will be maddening to watch, and you will learn so much about how you screwed up and had no idea. So just make that a consistent approach to your site, because the automotive space, especially, these sites are grim. It is just not an industry that has been willing to adopt this quickly or moved quickly. So I think at the same time, I think there's a huge opportunity here for the people who are willing to invest in building these really slick, easy to use e-commerce experiences for their customers.
Love it. And one last question here, Kurt, is what's a recent fact or stat that's really fascinated you lately?
Sure. The two yesterday or the day before, I looked at the Internet Retailer Report of the top 500 internet retailers, and I was going through it. And the interesting stat I saw was median conversion rate was 2.5%. So the question I get all the time is, what's a good conversion rate? Well, I would say, hey, it's going to depend on industry and your average order value and your traffic source. There's so many factors. But for once, we have all right, here's the answer. It's 2.5%. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but it's pretty good. It's harder than you'd think to get to a 2.5% conversion rate.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it's good to have that benchmark, right? And so there's something to, if you're at a 1, 1.2, it's okay, this is the goal, this is what we have to do, this is where we need to be here, guys. And then it makes the conversation a little bit easier, right? And in going, well, this is where we need to be, this is the benchmark, what do we got to do to get there? And everything that you've been saying here today, it really echoes a lot of things that we've been saying. Hey, put a phone number on the site, guys. Stop being lazy here. All right, stop being an order taker and offer up some great customer service. Offer up a great experience here, and really show why why you want someone's business, why you want them to continue to come back.
And why they should give you their business.
Why they should, yeah. And why they should, go back and refer you to other friends and colleagues. But Kurt, pleasure to have you on the Pit Stop Podcast here today. And for those of you who want to continue to follow Kurt, you can follow Kurt at definitely check out the Unofficial Shopify podcast. Tons and tons of knowledge there. Even if you don't have a Shopify site, I highly recommend you to get on there, because as you've heard today, Kurt is just a wealth of knowledge, and he cut his teeth in the auto parts and accessories industry, understands it.
And Kurt, where else can our audience follow you? Are you on Instagram, Twitter?
Well, on Instagram, I'm just posting drone videos. Now I've got, I try to post one quick e-commerce win every day on Twitter, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. So it's really connect wherever it's convenient. But if you want my newsletter, head to kurtelster.com. When you get an automated email from me, that's my real email address. So if you reply to it with a thoughtful question, I will send you a thoughtful answer.
Love it. Kurt, once again, thank you a bunch. Really appreciate it, and love to have you back again here over the next few months.
Certainly. My pleasure. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kurt.